At first glance, it seems like an ordinary radio signal, but in reality, it is one of the most unexplained mysteries of the 20th century. For more than 50 years, a monotonous, barely perceptible buzzing sound has been heard on the air, emitted by a radio station known as UVB-76, or the buzzer. There are many hypotheses and theories surrounding this mysterious station, as its true purpose remains a secret. UVB-76, as it is called by radio enthusiasts, is a number station, broadcasting on a shortwave frequency of 4,625 kilohertz. It is known that the signal originates from Russia, although the Russian government has never officially confirmed this. The transmission consists mostly of what appears to be buzzing interference, but in reality, the sounds follow a distinct rhythm and sequence. Occasionally, a voice transmission interrupts the buzzing, speaking what seems to be a random sequence of letters and numbers. Fans of such mysteries believe that this radio signal is actually used by Russian intelligence services for covert communication. One theory suggests that the buzzer, UVB-76, is actually part of an automated nuclear retaliation system known as Dead Hand. According to this chilling hypothesis, if the station were to suddenly fall silent, it would signal the destruction of military command and trigger an automatic retaliatory nuclear strike. A terrifying idea, but is it true? The true purpose of UVB-76 remains unknown, or at least known to very few. The station first began broadcasting in 1970, and even then it was clear that it carried some kind of secret purpose. Today, many recordings from the station's broadcasts are publicly available. One such fragment contains a voice transmission saying, Nikolai Zinya Tatiana Ivan, 25-419.
Nikolai Zinya Tatiana Ivan, 25-419.
While some believe this message is part of a cryptic military code, the exact meaning remains a mystery. Every hour on the minute, UVB-76 would emit a short buzzing sound twice in rapid succession. This message repeated over and over for years, leading many to assume that it was a pre-recorded encrypted transmission. However, dedicated listeners, those mystery enthusiasts who closely monitored the station, soon discovered that each new transmission was not identical to the previous one. More intriguingly, the buzzing sound itself was generated manually each time. The amplitude and pitch would sometimes shift slightly, and the intervals between the signals would occasionally change. In the 1990s, following the end of the Cold War, UVB-76 gained massive popularity among radio enthusiasts worldwide. These enthusiasts began recording every single broadcast, attempting to find patterns or hidden meanings in the transmissions. Despite their efforts, no one has been able to fully decode its purpose, leaving the station's true mission a complete mystery. Who and why transmitted this message so frequently on the air? A question that has no answer. It's noteworthy that over the years, events took place in Russia that completely changed the course of history, yet nothing could influence the station's operation. Perestroika, the Afghan War, and even the collapse of the Soviet Union could not stop the broadcast. But the most interesting events, which even slightly revealed the mystery, began in 2010. It was in this year that the frequency of message broadcasts increased, and strange messages were heard almost every day. The range of their oddity expanded with each occurrence. However, what happened on June 5, 2010, scared all those who believed in the theory that the radio station served as a system for a retaliatory nuclear strike. On that day, the station's broadcast stopped. There were no announcements, no explanations, only silence. Many kept silent in anticipation of a possible nuclear strike, but nothing happened, and the very next day, June 6th, the broadcast resumed as if nothing had happened. In July, the station resumed its usual operations, but occasionally signals resembling Morse code were heard. This further suggested that the radio station was being used by the Russian military to transmit classified data. Unfortunately, the signals could not be deciphered, as although they resembled Morse code, they were not it. In August of the same year, something unusual appeared on the airwaves. After another broadcast, footsteps were distinctly heard, as if someone were walking in an empty room. A month later, several excerpts from the legendary Swan Lake played on the air. This melody is associated by many with the collapse of the Soviet Union, as it was played on local television in 1991, when a coup was happening in the country. However, nothing of the sort occurred, and soon after, on November 10th, the first major mistake by those behind it all occurred. A service conversation leaked onto the air, revealing the call signs of several communication nodes, as well as the names and ranks of certain staff members. This was the last broadcast under the call sign UVB-76. After this, the station ceased its broadcasts. At the same time, the station's signal, which was audible across the globe except in the United States, was finally pinpointed. This was not surprising considering that the military was behind it, and taking into account the history of relations between Russia and the US since the Cold War. All the direction finders pointed to a military forest near the village of Povarova, just 19 kilometers from Moscow. There was one of the Russian Federation's military bases. Naturally, radio enthusiasts and stalkers headed there to search for the mysterious radio station, but upon arrival, they discovered something they didn't expect. At the location indicated by the direction finder, they indeed found a military bunker, but it was empty and abandoned. Researchers discovered that the base had been completely deserted. Personal belongings and equipment were scattered around, and the bunker was flooded with water. They described it as a space with many rooms and corridors, more resembling a labyrinth. Upon inspection, remnants of equipment were found, as well as part of a notebook in which logs of UVB-76 broadcasts had been recorded. But where did the station's operators go? Could the station have been destroyed, or perhaps it was relocated? 2 months later, on November 11th, the signal returned to the air, but with new call signs. This led to the theory that UVB-76 was no longer just a single station, but a whole network. In November 2010, the military appeared on the air for the first time after a long silence. During this broadcast, call signs such as Vulcan were mentioned, which is presumably associated with the Russian General Staff. Later, the station's signal was detected again. Several signs were found in the Leningrad, Pskov, and Voronezh regions, confirming the theory that the buzzer had become a network of radio stations. Despite the discovery of both the old and new signal locations, the mystery of the signal remains unsolved. Furthermore, more and more evidence points to the station being used for military purposes, but there is one inconsistency. The Russian armed forces do not recognize UVB-76 as their own, which only deepens the mystery. Who and why is this radio station transmitting signals? Even the best intelligence agencies in the world have no answer to this question. Famous agencies like MI6 and MI8 were also unable to provide a definitive answer, and when asked to present the results of their investigations, they simply stated that the radio station and its signals posed no danger. But this answer clearly didn't satisfy radio enthusiasts, who had spent all these years trying to unravel the mystery. They began to form anonymous clubs to get closer to the solution, but it seemed that each subsequent theory sounded crazier. Some speculated about a crazy radio hobbyist trolling his colleagues for decades. Another version was based on the idea of a supernatural force playing tricks on people, with all these sounds, clicks, random words, and codes. The most bizarre theory was that the signal might be coming from the future. Most, however, still leaned toward the theory that this station was created during the Cold War, with military purposes in mind. UVB-76 uses shortwave, which allows its signal to travel vast distances, almost around the world. This means the frequency could very well be used for transmitting classified intelligence data, coordinating submarines, or other less peaceful purposes. Another theory emerged later, in 2013, when a new phrase, or rather command, leaked on the air, which sounded like
Objavljena komanda 135.
Command 135 announced. It was most likely an alarm signal. Witnesses also claimed they heard this same command in various military enlistment offices, which led to the idea that it might be part of a nationwide notification system for military enlistment offices. In 2017, the latest strange event occurred on the station's airwaves. On December 24th, the marker turned off, and the following recording was heard. On the recording, political slogans from neighboring Ukraine are clearly audible. It is considered the first and only case of the radio station being hacked. But how could radio pranksters know the exact time of the marker's shutdown? Or could it have been Ukrainian intelligence services, aiming to show their neighbors that they knew more about their radio station than anyone else? This incident further fueled the mystery surrounding UVB-76 and raised questions about whether the station might be involved in a broader network of intelligence operations, or whether it had become a target for external interference. The possibility of intelligence agencies or even foreign states gaining access to the station only deepens the enigma, suggesting that UVB-76 could have far-reaching implications beyond what was originally understood. Another theory suggests that the signal is part of an experimental radar system. There is a version that UVB-76 is part of an experimental radar system that operates on the principle of signal reflection from the ionosphere. It could have been used to detect space objects or even as an early warning system for possible attacks. This theory is supported by the rare changes in the signal, and the low-frequency signal, 4,625 kHz, reflects well off the ionosphere, allowing it to travel thousands of kilometers. The key idea is that the signal could be a reference wave for passive radar systems. These systems analyze how different objects alter the passing radio signal. Possible tasks the station could perform: detection of airborne objects through their reflection or absorption of the signal, classified operation of air defense systems, experimental system for detecting stealth aircraft used by NATO countries. Although the theory of UVB-76's radar or geophysical purpose is not the main one, it is theoretically possible. However, this does not explain the strange voice messages and other anomalies in the broadcasts, and there are no official confirmations of this either. Of course, there couldn't be a lack of conspiracy theories. Some conspiracy theorists are convinced that the signal is not coming from our world. They believe that the station is receiving broadcasts from a parallel dimension, or transmitting information from an alternate reality. There's an idea that the buzzing is a kind of background between dimensions, which is accidentally intercepted by our world. But there's an even crazier theory. Ufologists are sure that the buzzer is not just a radio station, but a way of transmitting messages to extraterrestrials. They point out that on the frequency 4,625 kHz, sometimes sounds are heard that resemble an unknown language or strange mechanical clicks. Some believe that these are encoded messages sent into space or received from extraterrestrial beings. Their theory is supported by an interesting fact. On days of solar eclipses and other astronomical events, the station's broadcast would sometimes malfunction, and the signal would change. Some researchers have noted that UVB-76 responds to strong geomagnetic storms, which suggests a connection with the Earth's energy or even space. Yes, it's certainly intriguing, but the arguments of the supporters of this theory run out here, and they don't have any reliable facts to back it up. Despite everything, UVB-76 continues to broadcast and operates as usual. The frequency 4,625 kHz can still be tuned into today to hear this mysterious signal. In recent times, it is believed that the station now transmits from one of the facilities in Moscow and has been renamed ZHUO. But why does the broadcast mostly consist of a buzzing sound? It's speculated that this is simply a marker to fill the airwaves and prevent others from using the same frequency. And overall, there are far more questions than answers in the story. One thing remains clear: the broadcast and its content are intended only for the recipient it is addressed to. But who that recipient is remains a mystery. Whether it's a secret spy station or a backup for a nuclear strike, we may never know. But as the Phantom Station continues to fill the airwaves, we remain in the dark, and mystery enthusiasts have plenty to ponder.